Welcome to Between the Poles, the podcast where we dive deep into the heart of the pole community. I'm your host, Caroline. Here, it's not just about the tricks and the spin, it's about the stories, the people, and the connection that make our community so special. Every episode, we sit down with pole artists, studio owners, and inspiring members of the community to talk about their journeys, challenges, and passions. So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's get real. This is Between the Poles. Hi, Beccie. Welcome on Between the Poles. Thank you so much for being with us today. How are you?
Really good. Thank you so much for inviting me on. I feel really honored.
You're so welcome. I'm really excited. I think, I don't want to say a lie, but I think when I started pole, you're probably the first person I gave a follow to. So that's how
No,
long.
no way.
Yeah, I really started pole, and we'll kind of get into it with the questions I want to ask you, but I really started pole for like the fitness aspect of it. So then I ended up following a bunch of people that were kind of pushing more the pole sport,
Fitness.
pole
Yeah, yeah,
fitness
yeah.
side of it. And then yeah, I think the algorithm just made me find you, which I was really excited. And then I've been kind of following along ever since. On the podcast, we always start with the same question for everybody because it's so fun to see like where everybody comes from. So I usually ask, how did you start pole? How did you find pole? And kind of that side of it.
I started it because I actually saw I was in college and I saw a girl doing it. She showed me a photo of her doing it actually. And she looks so cool doing it because at the photo that she showed me, she was actually wearing trainers. Like it was really really cool, and I was like, I can't even really explain it. I was just really drawn in. Like I was like, that is dope. But anyway, so I didn't actually start it immediately then. And then I was sort of saying to a friend, like, I'd love to give it a go, and we did. My friend was like, I'll come with you, we'll do it. So we did, and my first experience of it was like I enjoyed it, but like at the time where I was traveling to do pole was like 20-25 minutes, maybe even half an hour from where I was living, and we were quite young, so it just wasn't very feasible to get to the studio. And then it wasn't until a couple of years later where I was like, I really, really, really want to do this again. Um, and this time I had no friends that wanted to do it with me. So, and it like I was like, I don't think you'd ever, well, you wouldn't think this if you do follow me or you know me from social media, but I used to be really introverted. So the thought of doing anything like that by myself, I was like, oh my God, like I don't think I can. And which as a side note, which is why I'm so like I praise anyone that walks into a pole studio by themselves because I know how hard it is to like get yourself through the door, especially if you're coming alone. But yeah, so I was like, I basically, can I swear?
And then how many years ago was that? Like how long have you been bowling?
I've been polling for a really, really long time. By the way, can I swear on here?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was when I got to a point where I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna have to go by myself. And then I did. So that was back in like, oh my God, maybe like 2015.
Okay.
Maybe longer than that. No, 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 maybe 2014, maybe.
Shocked to learn how long people have been polling because you see on social media, right? Kind of like the level you're at now, but we don't see a lot of like the beginning of people.
No.
So in my mind, especially when I started like just kind of following a bunch of people, I was like, I suck at this. People are fucking amazing and I just suck. Like, but then not once did I be like, oh, maybe that person has been bowling for a decade and I'm like three classes in, right? Like so hard to see.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, that's so, so, so true. Yeah, it's a really, really long time. And well, where I first went to Pole, like I spent like 2-3 years there, and at the time, because Pole wasn't like it is now, no way. Like it just, and like even the way you learn, like everything, like so where I went for the first 2-3 years was really just for fun. Like my instructor was great. She made me fall in love with pole. It was all about tricks. We yeah, I didn't learn how to invert properly. It was like I learned to invert by being like, just run up and go upside down. Like you'll get yourself there. Just run. Um, so yeah, it wasn't like it is today. And then it got to a point where my instructor said to me, "Listen, I can't teach you anymore. You're gonna have to move. You're gonna have to move schools." Um, so I did, and then that was sort of where like my pole journey like evolved really.
Before you started pole, were you into any kind of other fitness? Because then I really enjoy also asking this question for people because I feel like you're in two camps when you start polling. You're either somebody who's already has a fitness background or loved another sport or something like that, and then from like the get-go, you're able to invert. And then there's this kind of other camp of people we've had on where like, no, no, it took me like a while to build up the strength to be able to invert. So was there any like background for you before pole, or
No.
that was like the sport that sent you?
That was the sport. Yeah. I mean, listen, I did a little bit of dance in school. Nothing crazy. Like I love dance. And I remember saying to my dance teacher, like, please can I put on a after school dance club? And me and my best friend at the time did, that was really, really fun. But listen, like not I didn't I wasn't a dancer, but I did love to dance. But no, I don't have any background. I did gymnastics when I was younger, but like I didn't stick it for very long because again I was really introverted, and I said to my mum like I don't want to do this anymore. I can't do it. So I didn't do it for very long.
So do you remember when you started? How was it? Did you really struggle, or did you feel like you were picking it up quite naturally?
Well, I think I was going to the gym. I didn't really know what I was doing that much at the gym at the time, so I was quite naturally strong. Um, but it was always there was always challenges. Like there was always moves that I remember being like, I'm never going to be able to do that, or and like the skin burn and stuff like that um was real. But like anything, pole is such a strong community, and I see it in my school now, and I absolutely love it. But I remember going to the studio because I liked the people that were there and like hanging out with the girls and having a chat and having fun. Like that's really I can't really remember a lot, like in terms of how I found it, but I were just my fondest memories really is just like the vibes that were, that was really what it was all about, like hanging out with these girls, and yeah, that was for me like one of it's like the highlight.
Do you remember a point in your pole journey that you're like, you know what? I think I'm actually really good at this. Like, is there kind of a point where you hit a certain level or certain move that you're like, oh my God, I think it's actually
No, no, babe, not at all. No, 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 no. Um, yeah, like no, not at all.
because I feel once again like I've been filming for a little bit now, and we've had multiple people on, and I also own a pole studio, so I teach a lot of students. And I don't know. I feel like for some of us, in my case, I felt like, oh, I suck at this. I suck at this, but I really like it. And then at some point, I remember getting an Aisha out of the blue, and then I was like, oh, maybe I won't actually suck at this. Maybe like if I put time in cross training, and then some of our guests that we've had on are like, oh yeah, I remember the first time I got this or that thing, or like somebody asked me to teach or whatever, and that in my mind kind of lit a switch or something.
Mm.
And other people just kind of went, and they're like, no, it just kind of gradually happened, and circumstances and stuff like that. I also wanted to ask you because once again, like I found you through social media, Instagram, um, and you teach a lot online. Like you give a lot of good like short tutorials and you do like crazy combos and all that. When did you start teaching? Like how did that happen for you?
So I started teaching in 2017. So I've always loved like some form of teaching, and I think that comes from like I always really really enjoyed like when I had my first job. um I really enjoyed training people, like training the newbies. Like I love doing that, and I would take on their inductions and stuff like that. And then even when I moved in, I know this is a little bit off, but even like when I was in my corporate role, which I worked in a corporate role for like 10 years before, I only left that in 2023, so 2 years ago. um I was always implementing or trying to implement training plans or how to train people or being with new people. Like I loved it. Um, and I remember my instructor at the time, because I was actually in my first ever studio, I got to a point where I was starting to help my instructor. I mean, looking back now, just go back to your question, like I probably was like quite strong in comparison to other people, but I never thought for a second like, you know what, I'm good at this, or like this is for me. But like my instructor, so my first instructor, like I was helping her teach, and I really really enjoyed it. And then when I moved schools, it was like literally in the first couple of weeks that my new instructor said to me, she was like, I would have you teaching for me. Because I think I said like I'd love to teach one day, and she was like, well, I would have you teach for me, and I was like, that was for me was like a real light bulb moment. I was like, oh my God, so what do I need to do to get like, what do I need to do to be able to teach? And she was like, well, you know, you need your qualifications, you need insurance, XYZ, you need your first aid. Um, and yeah, I went and did it immediately. And then it wasn't until 2017 that I then properly started teaching. I did a lot of shadowing. So yeah, that's how that really really come about. And then my like the way that I teach and stuff like that, and that is just grown over the years really.
And then we don't really get to know that aspect of people as well. Because you said, oh, like I worked a corporate job for a decade.
Hmm.
Are you now full on kind of in the pole world? And
Fully.
how did you make that transition? And like, how stressful was that?
So for me, my love for pole, like I was polling like 4 or 5 times a week when I was a student. And it even got to the point like when I started teaching, I will probably touch on this further down the line, but like when I started teaching, I was like, I just want to get better. I just want to be like I want to be as good as possible. And then I was like, that was the point for me where I was like, right, I need to start introducing my gym training. Um, but then I was like, how am I going to do it all? Like I work full time. I was going straight to the studio every single night. So having to juggle everything, you know, it's always been really, really full on. I've always prioritized like doing pole. But in terms of in the transition, so for me, like ever since I can remember, really, especially from teaching, I used to work in the main city centre where our studio was. So I would always go to work, and then I would go to the studio straight from work. So for me, like working these really long days, essentially, which is absolutely what it was, is so the normal for me that like there was never a point where I was like, oh, this is really hard, or because I just absolutely loved it. And even when like I opened my own studio, I was still working a corporate job, going straight from my job to the studio, like, and basically I just built until I got to a point where I was like, you know what, I just knew I could do this full time. Like I remember being sat in my conservatory with my husband, and something had happened in my corporate job, and I was like, fuck this, you are all a bunch of wankers. Like I said to my husband, like I don't need to be treated like this, and I know I can make this work. And I just had this like well, self-belief, like I just knew, like I knew I could make it work. So yeah, that transition was quite seamless because I was like, yeah, I've got this, like I know I can do it. Like I felt pretty unstoppable. But that's come from like years and years and years and years of graph, like that, like going back to like juggling everything when I was like going to the gym and like doing pole, like that all stemmed from, you know, putting in all the time. I would work, and then I'd go, like say, straight to the studio, be at the studio till 9 o'clock, and do that day in, day out, really. Like I was in the studio 5 times a week. So that level of, you know, hard work and determination was there from the get-go.
And we've touched a little bit on your like pole journey and then that transition. I also really enjoy following you because I feel you put a big emphasis on conditioning, and you've touched up a little bit on the gym, and like I really want to kind of deep dive into it because you said like, oh, like the idea, one, how did the idea of your conditioning platform start? How did you, so many questions, I'm sorry. How did you,
Fire away, babe, fire away.
because you said like, oh, I was going to the studio and stuff. So basically, I'm trying to ask, like, how did this start? The love of pole made you go to the gym to try to level up, or you had a love of gym that made you really good at pole. And do you know what I mean? Like, which
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. So I had a love for the gym anyway. I was gymming when I first started my pole journey, and then I started to go with like so my husband. I met him in my first ever job at the corporation I was working at. We were both working there, so that's where I met Rob. And then Rob, before he was at where we worked, he was a personal trainer, so he had a love for the gym. So I know I was going to the gym a little bit, but not, I didn't really know what I was doing at the time. When I was going to the gym, it was more like just, like, when you go to the gym, you don't really know what you're doing. So you just go into classes and, just sort of like turning up and like never going into the weight section or anything like that. So I had a bit of a love for the gym, but just to put a caveat there, the love for the gym that I had back then it wasn't an unhealthy love, but I was in a bad mental headspace with body dysmorphia. So the reason for going to the gym was not the right reason, you know. So anyways, but I still had a love for going to the gym, and it was still a big part of my life. But when I was going to pole more, like pole was number one for me. So maybe I went to the gym occasionally with Rob, like, but it wasn't a big part of like my routine. Then when I first started teaching, I think like when I in 2017, there was a for me a big emphasis on like, okay, if I'm an instructor, there's a certain standard here. Like that the standard wasn't like set, but like I suppose I put it on myself. Like if you're gonna be an instructor, like and again, like take this lightly. This was just my expectation of like myself, really, or the standard I set on myself. Like if you're going to be an instructor, your lines need to be good. Your execution needs to be good. You need to be strong in and out of these tricks. And then I remember hitting a bit of a sort of like, I suppose maybe a bit of a plateau. Um, this was like again when I was a student and instructor, like back at in my old school, and it got to the point where I was like, if I really, really want to push on, because I remember there come a point where I was like, I just want to be strong as fuck. I just want to get strong, 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 strong. And I was polling like 5 times a week, and I was like, and there might be some people that resonate with this, but I was like, I'm not really moving forward. Something needed to give. And I was like, I'm going to have to drop a session and start going to the gym. Um, and it was at that point that like, yeah, I was dabbling with the gym. I was starting to get a bit stronger. I had a lot of students like asking me what to do in the gym, how to do certain exercises. But like really where the whole game changed for me was lockdown.
why?
So when lockdown hit, like I said, I was still dabbling in the gym. I was kettlebell training. I was still doing that. But when everything closed down, I remember saying to Rob, like, you know what, I'm gonna start online classes. I'm gonna start online kettlebell classes. And if no one joins, it's fine, but it's gonna keep me accountable. So I started doing 3 kettlebell classes a week. It was a Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, and these were open for everyone. But a lot of the time they were just full of my friends and family and like some people from the studio and stuff like that. Anyways, so we had lockdown. I did this week in, week out, and then I went back to the studio when we had like a really short period of when they reopened, and I was so fucking strong. Like I was like, oh my God. And I remember the 2 girls that I went back into the studio with who weren't training like this, and they were instructors too. And I remember being like, I remember that sort of like moment where I was like, oh shit, I've like really leveled up. Like I can feel like my twisted grip INX felt really strong, and I could feel how strong my shoulders were. Like it was more of a case of like, when you get really good at a move and you can hold it and you're like, oh my God, like I could hold this. It was that for me. And I was like, oh my God, like there is something in this. And then basically that's where everything was born for me, like the kettlebell training, really pushing strength and conditioning. That's when I really wanted to solidify myself as a strength and conditioning coach within the industry, because I was like, I've done this. Like I actually was talking about this the other day. So I've got this little book. This is like my little book of dreams. I talk about this a lot. At the very back of it has like every single kettlebell plan that I ever did in 20, yeah, every single one like written out. Um, and that's when I was like, you know what? Like I can make that a plan. I think I can make that a plan and help people. So my kettlebell plan one is all of the workouts that I did in lockdown, like I just generated into a 6 week plan really because I thought 6 weeks was um like a really nice amount of time. But yeah, that's I know I'm going way off, and please feel free to pull me
No,
back in
I'm
and
loving
ask
it.
any
I'm
questions.
loving
But
it.
that's really where everything kicked off for me. And then on the pole side of things, like the growth there, um, lockdown again. I was in my lounge and I posted a tutorial on how to do an around the world. Um, and it had 150 saves in 10 minutes. And I was like, and I remember it so vividly, by the way. Like I was like, holy shit. There is like the demand for this is so high. So that's when it all started, really. Started the tutorial started. And then I was putting out kettlebell content. It really wasn't doing well. Like no one was interested in cross training. Like there's loads of people been talking about it for a really long time, but no one was really interested. Like my kettlebell videos would get hardly any views. Um, but I just kept pushing and persevering. And then when people were starting to take notice and being like, how are you getting so strong? Like how have you built up your strength? I'm like, this that I've been talking about for the past however long. Like, take note. Like, if you want the same, do the same, and I promise you'll get the same results. And that has happened, and that's like really like where it all sort of like progressed from
I was
there,
gonna say,
really.
in my mind, you kind of made cross training like really sexy for pole. Because I remember
That
seeing
is
you
like
online.
that is like the ultimate compliment.
Because I remember seeing you online with your kettlebell, and I was like, for people listening that aren't following Becky, one, you should. But then two, you're not talking about like 100 pounds kettlebell, right? Where like people just can't, and they're like, oh my God. No, you're doing this with like a 20 pounder. And then you're showing like really exercise that hit mobility as well as
Mm,
strength.
yeah,
So I remember seeing you online, and I was like, seems achievable. Like you're
yeah,
not doing crazy things where I'm like, I can't even do the conditioning. You know what I mean? Sometimes I think people like forget that a lot of us are just like at a certain level and we need kind of easier things.
guidance. Yeah,
And, like, yeah, and I was like, a kettlebell and a yoga mat. I can have that in my living room, right? During
yeah.
lockdown, whatever. Like
This
that's
is it.
what I remember seeing you as. And then it was a great kind of combination. Because once again, right? I would see like a kettlebell exercise. And then I would see a video of you like Iron X. It was like kettlebell handspring combo, kettlebell, whole your body weight. And I was like,
Yeah,
"Mm, there is something to this, like that
yeah,
works. And I think that you did really well into marketing kind of the combination of them hand in hand,
yeah,
which at the time, even to this day, I don't think I see a lot of at all. I feel people either just kind of really tap into the conditioning aspect of it or they really tap into like the pole aspect of it. I feel you have such a nice balance
thank
of
you.
like both. And I really, yeah, I truly, really appreciate that. And then there's so much to unpack on what you said. Um,
No, I'm
like,
so
sure what-
sorry. I
no,
like
that's all right.
went
I'm not
balls
even sure.
deep.
One, I want to touch up on because you said you did feel a certain pressure, and I feel like that's pretty honest because I also felt that pressure when I started teaching, and then I felt even more at some point when I owned a pole studio. And it's crazy because it comes from within a lot of the time because a lot
Mm,
of the students I have are like, I didn't want you to look a certain way. I didn't need you to be able to do a certain, I just wanted you to tell me like, how am I supposed to do this? Can you demo this thing? And
yeah. Can you
kind of just
teach?
yeah, just make a
Yeah,
space that's inclusive that shows different body types. But in my brain, I was like, for me to like be regarded as a certain teacher or for me to feel like it's fine that I own a pole studio, I have to be at a certain level and I have to look a certain way. And I think a lot of us feel that way. And then do you feel like, Because you said you felt that level up. Do you feel when you came back from lockdown with that kettlebell, you were at a level that made you feel kind of relaxed a little bit, where you're like, I feel strong, I feel
Yeah.
capable, like this, like mentally feels better?
Yeah, definitely. But I feel like it's because I was like, I knew where I wanted to go with it. Like I had that determination to be really strong. So, with that strength, like that for me, like I wanted to be, I really like had that like hunger for wanting to be strong. But listen, like you're totally right, by the way, because I remember when I was pregnant and I was like, guys, there's going to be some things that I can't show you, I can't do, but I can talk you through it and I can safely teach you. And my girls were like, yeah, yeah, that's all we care about. And it's really interesting you say about the safe space because when I opened my own studio, um, that was the biggest thing for me really was having a really safe space where people felt like they could come in and take their clothes off. Um, and that's really, and I know studios have been doing this for a long time, but for me that was really where like the LED, the plants come from. You see at my studio, I've got a lot of plants. I've just brought more plants. I have small addictions plants, but the reason for it is because there's something that when you walk into a space with that type of decor, I don't know what it is. Like it just makes you feel a bit more ease, like you feel comfortable. And then when we turn all the lights off and just have LEDs on, it really allows people to become immersed in the space and that like that element of like what you look like, are people watching me? Like that just disappears, which is really, really good. But yeah, I like you say, the standard just it does come within. Like no one cares.
Yeah, honestly. And then I love that you touched up a little bit on pregnancy, because I feel I don't see a lot about pole and pregnancy. And then I started my own pole journey pregnant. So when I started, I was pregnant 6 months with my first one. And then I opened up a studio pregnant with my second, right? And I felt this immense pressure to bounce back. And then just like opening my first business with like a newborn. Like I'm thinking back on this, I'm like, that was crazy. And I started teaching again, like in my studio, 3 months postpartum with a
Hmm.
C-section. Like, and I was
Wow.
like, I gotta hit the gym. I gotta like train. I gotta be able to get back to being able to do all these moves. And it's just like, I wish more of us and more instructors and more pole online, even students, like that we would give ourselves more grace. And
Definitely.
a lot of the students I taught right when I opened the studio and I was like 3 months postpartum, they're like, you don't need to be able to demo this. Like, just tell me, like, what am I supposed to be engaging? Help me in and out of it and like stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Wish that that was more talked about. But social media is a bunch of highlights, right? So you always see these people do crazy things. And then I was gonna kind of ask you, because I followed you for a while, so I did kind of see slowly your pregnancy as well.
Yeah.
How did you find polling and being pregnant? How did you find your kettlebell program and being pregnant? And how did you find kind of managing all of that? Because you do a lot. Like I
No.
see you every day online, like and I'm like, that's so much. How were you able to kind of keep up with everything?
Yeah. I absolutely like I just think it's just a love for it. Like I just love it, honestly. Like the kettlebell training was an absolute godsend during pregnancy, if I'm being honest. Like because if I couldn't get on the pole, because there were some days where I just went into the studio and I was like, bah. And there's not happening for me today. Which is fine, but I could always kettlebell train. I could always kettlebell train. So it kept me feeling strong. Um, and it kept me like there were days where pole might have felt a little bit harder, but then I was just like, oh, today I'm gonna flow. Like I was never like, oh my God, I'm not doing this again. It was just recognizing the okay, like maybe today's a bit of a bad day. Like, and I would say actually something that I've got really, really, really good at now is listening to my body. Um, take yesterday for example, I spoke on my story about it. Like woke up feeling like shit. And I was like, oh my God, like I know I'm not going to be able to train today. Like I just know that I'm not. And like there's like I still went to the studio, but only because I had to really. Like I like wanted to see how I'd feel when I'd get there, but deep down I was like, I know you can't train today, like you can't get on the pole today, and I literally couldn't get on. I was like, I can't do this. Um, so I think the ability to be able to listen to your body too when you're like if you're pregnant or like is really really important. But yeah, the kettle, my God, the kettlebell training kept me so sane, kept me feeling so strong. I mean, I've talked about this a little bit. I trained kettlebells whilst in labor. So I went into labor whilst training kettlebells. So I was doing a bent over row and I had it was a contraction. And I thought, I was like, oh, I was like, maybe I'm just going a bit too heavy. So I went down in weight. And then I taught kettlebells, did the whole session, taught pole. Um, and I remember I did an extended butterfly and I tried to feed my bottom leg through and I literally went to go feed it through. I was like, girls, I can't. I was like, I can't get through. I was so pregnant. And then 4 hours later, my waters broke, and then I obviously started like labor. But yeah, so I trained like up at like 4 hours prior to my waters breaking. So, um,
That's crazy.
but I literally loved it. Like it made me feel like I said, it made me feel really strong, made me feel really empowered. So thank God for kettlebell training really, because like again, like you just need a space. I think like teaching as well, like it was hard sometimes having to go to the studio to teach, but once you're there, like you just get it done. And I always knew that once the endorphins hit after the workout, I'd be feeling tip top, and I did, like I loved it. So yeah, praise the Lord for the kettlebells really for during
Wanted
pregnancy.
I wanted to ask you a couple of questions more regarding your kettlebell.
Yes.
You said you started during lockdown teaching kettlebell
Hmm.
like online. What platform did you use? And kind of how did you format them? Were you like from the get-go? Because you said you were doing 3 times a
Yeah.
week. How did you come to that decision? How did you build that program? And then, yeah, what platform did you use? How did you market it for people? Kind of that start.
Literally was just like talking about the fact that I was going to run a kettlebell class like that, literally talking about it on my socials. I ran it on Zoom. It was so basic, like, and if you wanted to join you just PayPal me. Like, it yeah, like, and honestly I didn't think I was going to get anybody really to join. And I remember saying to Rob, there was this kettlebell that I really really wanted. You can get them personalized here in the UK, and they're like, I think it was like 40-50 pound, maybe £60 to get a personalized kettlebell. And obviously the more it is, like the more it costs. So when I wanted this 12 kg, which is about 24-25 pound kettlebell, personalized. And I remember saying to Rob, like, if I'm lucky enough to make some money from the kettlebell classes, like that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna buy myself as like a it's like a well done to buy one of these kettlebells. And I generally, like I say, there was like 40-50 quid. Like I was like, if I'm lucky enough, like I did, and I was charging £5 for the kettlebell class. And I didn't think anyone would really be interested. And then they were really popular. So I was just talking about it on Nine Loads. I was then like shooting videos like of what you could learn in the kettlebell classes with me. It got like a bit of word of mouth, I suppose, as well. And like people were then posting on their stories that they had done a kettlebell class with me. I always knew that I wanted to do full body workouts. Like I spoke about this the other day as well on my story actually, that like if you are training alongside pole, like there's so many different ways that you can training body by body split is amazing. But what happens then is that you'll train a muscle group like to an intensity, and like you're blitzing that muscle essentially. So then you might wake up the next day and have major DOMs in like your back or your biceps or your core or your legs. And then it really impacts the way you can train because your muscles are so sore. So full body training is so complementary to pole, especially if you're being sport specific and like pole for us or aerial is always going to be number one. So you don't really have time to go to the gym and do like a body split. So going like hitting a full body program is absolutely the way forward. And it also meant as well that like if you could only do one session that week, at least you've trained your whole body. Instead of coming into a session and only training like legs and being like, oh well, when am I going to train upper? So I know I wanted to do full body. Um, then I wanted them to be about 45 minutes because I wanted to be reasonable, like an hour. Also, an hour's worth of kettlebells is hard. Like,
Mm-mm.
have you ever kettlebell trained?
Yes.
It's very
You're not gonna like what I'm gonna say, and I'm really sorry. And viewers and listeners, don't do what I did. Please go and like actually buy. I went on your Instagram and then like chose a couple of exercises that I felt fine with because I tried actually kettlebell training like you show online pregnant with my second when I felt like pole started being like
hard.
too much, where I felt
Yeah,
insecure because of my belly.
yeah,
So then
yeah.
I just kind of looked online at what a couple of things you were putting out there, and then picked exercise that I felt comfortable moving my body in
Yeah,
that
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
way with a big belly, I had
yeah.
to admit. And that's how I started. And now if you come to my living room, there's like a yoga mat and a kettlebell. And that's
Love
what you
that. Love that.
and then sometimes at night when my kids are in bed, I'll be like, you know what, let me
Do
kettlebell
a quick
train.
workout. So this is what I
I
mean. Like you don't need very long, do you? Like half like 45 minutes, you can get the job done. 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, like whatever your time limit is, like you can get the job done. So 45 minutes is more than enough. So that was how I structured the classes. Monday, Wednesday, Saturday was a really good like again, bearing in mind it's lockdown, so no one had any, like fuck all to do. So Monday, Wednesday, Saturday was a really nice time between classes for recovery. And then Saturday morning, so Monday and Wednesday, I always ran the classes at 6. And then on a Saturday, I ran it at 10 a.m. And I ended up doing it 9 times. Oh no, was it not half 9? I ran the class on a Saturday. Um, and 9 times out of 10, I was doing it. I was doing hit workouts because I was like, I just that style of training. If I'm going to do a hit workout, I really enjoy doing hit workouts in the morning. So I just did hit workouts alongside a bit of like hypertrophy and stuff like that, which is like your 8 to 10 rep ranges. But yeah, I did predominantly a lot of hit training on Saturday. So on the Saturday morning class. So that's how I then structured the 6 week plan too. Each you have 2 hypertrophy sessions, which is your, like you say, your typical 8 to 10 rep ranges. And then you have one workout that's a bit more hit focused, so 40 seconds on, 20 seconds off. And it was because, like I said, honestly, that's exactly what I did during lockdown. And it kept me fit. Like hit training is so good for the cardiovascular system. It's really, really good for blitzing body fat as well. So yeah, I incorporated a lot of that in the training, and then I translated that into the plan. Um, and then when I was actually writing the plan, I did one session a week that was like really hypertrophy, like I say, it's at 8 to 10. Then another session was quite mobility focused. So when you put a chain of movements together, like complexes, and then the third workout was hit related. So a really, really nice all round, a well-rounded plan really to incorporate everything that you need to get fitter, stronger. Um, so yeah, I feel like for me, I think it's like the perfect all-round plan. It's like full body, a bit of all styles of training, and really manageable if you're in the pole in the studio.
how would you say, or what tweaks do you feel you've come up with from those first class you started on Zoom to the platform you own now, and how you teach now your kettlebell program? What can people expect if they do buy your program? What can they expect? What is it now? How do you run it?
So I actually have the kettlebell plan is still running. Like that is like it's still going. That KB plan like it's untouchable because it's so like there's nothing really that I would change there because it's so solid like this like it has everything you need. So that has been untouched from the day that I launched it. And it's still people still buy it today, which is amazing. However, if you really want to train with me now, I would recommend, so I run now my kettlebell classes. So I teach 2 kettlebell classes a week on a Monday and a Thursday in my studio, and I record them mic'd up, and then I upload them to my Patreon. So what you can do now is train with me. So like these are legit my training sessions. Like this isn't me being like, oh, do 10 squats and just like guide you and then do it. Like you are literally training with me. And like I feel like coming back postpartum, so I started recording these properly because I went through a phase of like just recording them for my online clients. And it's not that it wasn't really working, but I was recording that I was doing it live on Zoom for my clients, and then sending out the recording, and the recording was dog shit. Like, it was just really not good, and I was like, this isn't the standard that like I'm willing to put my name against either. Like, even like these clients, it was just like an additional thing that I was offering to my clients. It wasn't anything that they were expecting from me, but I was like, this is still like, I'm putting my name to this, like this is awful. So and I was like talking to other people, and they were like, yeah, that's just sort of how the recordings are when you download them on Zoom. I was like, that's not good enough. So then I've got two phones. So one phone I literally just record and mic'd up. Um, and then that's when I was like, I'm gonna put this out and create a platform here. And then so I now put them on Patreon, and you can literally follow along. Like, all you need to do is press play. That's it.
I love that.
And the
Um,
sessions are exactly the same. Full body, 45 minutes. Nothing's changed. So like in terms of structure, everything like that is exactly the same. All the only thing I literally offer now is basically, then I say they're live classes. They are live, but they're not live, if that makes sense, because they're on demand. But you are literally following me in my workout. So w- when people say to me like, "Oh, how have you got stronger?" or "How are you training?" like that is what I'm training. Like, you, my strength has leveled up hugely in the last 6 7 months. I felt that, and I felt like another level up. And it is single-handedly, I mean, okay, I go to the gym once a week, and I'm very tailored with my gym program, but that is how I train too. So if you know, that's where I would recommend people now, if they wanted to train me or what platform to go to, that is what I would recommend doing, because it's how I'm training. So come and train with me. You hear me moaning, you hear my students moaning. Like, it's fun. It's fun.
I will put it in the caption for our viewers and our listeners as well. If you want to find Becky's program, I will
Yeah,
put it
check it out.
in. Make sure you give it a follow and a like and get it and train yourself as well.
Yeah, come and level up with me.
I wanted to ask you as well, Becky, and I've been asking this more and more to the guests because I feel like everybody has a different answer and every answer is a valid answer. What would you say is the best advice you've ever received, either for your business or for your pole journey? And is there any advice you would want to give people? Like, think about us and our viewers as just student of yours. What advice would you give?
Um, the best piece of advice that I received, not necessarily for business, but for pole, and something that I would tell everybody, and I think everybody should take in mind, pole's not going anywhere. No matter what you're going through, pregnancy, needs to take a break, injured, maybe you've fallen out of love with it a little bit, maybe you've got some personal stuff going on. Um, the pole is never, ever, ever going anywhere.
That's
So
amazing. It kind of takes
when
some pressure off, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and that was something that helped me with having a baby too. Someone said to me, "Pole's not going anywhere." And I was like, no, you're totally right. Like, it's not, is it? Like, you could go back to it at any time, and like, okay, circumstances might change. Maybe your studio, or the classes, might not work for you, but you could get a pole at home if you had the space. Like, you could find another studio. Like, the actual ability to be able to do pole is not going anywhere.
That's a really good, that's a really good one. See, I like asking that question because I feel depending who we are at what moment in our life, we all need to hear different things. I really like that one. It really takes a little bit of that pressure off, and you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, nothing has to be intense all the time. Sometimes
No,
just be like a pause.
like, if you're going on, if you need to take a break away, or like, you'll come back and get back into the routine of your life, or whatever that looks like for you. um and pole will still be the same. You'll turn up and the poles will still be 45 mil or 40 mil. It's likely that you'll have the same instructors. The people in your class might have changed, but yeah, like, it's not going anywhere.
And then I want to also ask you this, and I've been asking once again more and more. The more I record this podcast, the more I feel I tailor my questions a little bit, and the more I kind of take value out of what people say. Because once again, right, it's easy for us to follow along on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or whatever platform the guest that we have that week is on, and we see kind of the highlight and the final products, and like we don't see the 10 years you've put in to be at
Yeah.
this level, right? And
Yeah.
So then I really like asking people of a certain level, what's your goal? Like it can be anything, right? It doesn't have to be a move. It can be something you're working towards. Like someone said like, oh, I'd like to own a pole studio at some point, or some people were like, oh, I'm working on competing or I'm working on getting this next level. What do you feel your next goal is?
I was actually going through like some of your questions earlier, and I was literally talking it through with Rob, and I said I knew this one would come up because you'd obviously put it on the list, and it's really really difficult for me because I have always lived my life in the present moment, and that's not a very like Zen way. That's not me being like, we must take day by day. Like I don't really think that far ahead. I never have. And I literally just, I don't take each day as it comes, but I never have like, I've never been like someone who's had like a 5-year plan, or by the end of the year, I want to achieve this, or, maybe I have like I set myself small goals. So let's say like when I started doing online coaching, I was like, right, I want to get this many clients. And then I was like, right, I want to get this many clients. And then I want to get like, I had like mini milestones for myself. Um, but no really like not that I can really tell you that like I'm like honestly I really do just take each week as it comes. um and yeah, I'm not really working on anything like majorly big. I'm so happy and content in what I've got going on. um like, but if I really had to answer like I honestly I don't really know.
I don't think you have to pressure yourself into answering. I
No.
love that answer too, right? And that's fine. And that's why I love the podcast because we get to meet different people with different background and different mindset. And that's all right too. I love that you're like, you know
Yeah.
what? I'm really content where I am. And I don't know. Life will take me somewhere and I will do the best with where it brings me. And I love that too, right? We're all different people. And that's the beauty I feel of the pole community is it's really embracing and you can be wherever you are. And that's something I felt really welcomed in because
Yeah.
I'm on the opposite. I'm like, here's my 1 year goal, 3 year goal, 5 year goal, a decade, but it doesn't have to be that way for
No, not
everybody.
at all.
That's more
Not
than
at all.
fine.
And it's like the same with like I've tried it before. I've tried really like trying to map it out, but something that I find that happens, and again, each to their own. Like you have to be quite hardwired to be like that. I think it has to come quite natural to you, like it clearly does to you. So it works really, really well. Sometimes I feel like a lot of the time, a lot of anxiety and stress or unhappiness comes from sort of unmet expectations where people thought they were going to be in a certain place. And I see that even with my online clients where they're like, well, by the end of 2024, I want to get an Aisha. And it's like, yeah, but you don't know what's going to get in your way along the way. And it's okay, whatever that might be. But like you're going to end 2024 feeling let down and feeling like you're not good enough at pole because you didn't quite get where you needed to be, where actually it might have been quite an unrealistic expectation potentially, or things have got in the way or things weren't accounted for. So I think, but then equally, some people are really driven and need those set stages of goals. Like you say, it's all each to their own, isn't it? Um, and I think some people need that drive as well to really have a goal. And like I have little micro goals that I set myself. Like me and my husband sit down and we're like, right, what we're going to achieve in like Q1 and what we're going to achieve in Q3 and Q4, and we set like I say, we set real like milestones. Um, but that's more for like accountability and to help keep us on track. Um, but yeah, I don't have a big goal at the
That's
moment.
more fine. All right, I think we're ready for the last segment on this podcast. I don't want to keep you on. You have a baby, and let's wrap this up. We call this last segment the last grip. These are shorter questions. You can give us as much or as little details as you want. They're meant just to be fun and for our viewers and our listeners just to kind of not know you better because we've been chatting for almost an hour now, but just kind of those fun questions that everybody in the pole world kind of has, right?
Yeah, hit me. I love it.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee, flat white to be precise. Used to be a latte girl. Now I feel like, well, Rob says I've matured in my, I've matured since becoming a mum. Since becoming a mum, I need it as strong as possible. Like I would drink lattes and I was like, this is really milky and like where's I need a stronger caffeine hit. And now I'm a flat white girly.
I feel that. I did uni and everything, never sipping a drink coffee. And then I had my first one and I was like, I need to pick me up. And long story short, there was like a Starbucks half an hour away from like walking. So it got me out the house. I was like, I'm gonna take a walk with my new baby and I'm gonna go and grab coffee. And I have been drinking coffee ever since.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
get it. And I also black with a dash of cream.
I love that. Love that. I do drink tea. I do drink tea, but coffee all the way.
Feel that. Favorite song to dance to right now or train to?
Oh. You know what song I absolutely love is Birds of a Feather by Billie Eilish, but the one that's remixed
Oh, I
with
don't think I've heard the remix one.
that's probably like one of my firm fave. Who's it? Is it Lewis Hampton? Lewis Hampton, yeah. Birds of a Feather X. I remember. I love the song I remember.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, that little mashup,
Okay.
firm
I'll have a
fave.
look. I think I already know this question, and for any viewers or listeners, I feel like if they follow you a little bit, they would know this. Heels or barefoot?
I was like, she knows the answer to this. Like you know the answer to this. Well, socks, socks.
I was gonna say I wouldn't even say barefoot. I'm not gonna start a whole other conversation, but I am impressed that you are pulling and you're showing these crazy moves and combos, wearing socks and long pants. And I fear for my own life watching you do those things.
Yeah, I love it. Like I've always, can I, as a side note,
Yeah.
um, one thing that really, really helped me build strength years ago, was poling in clothes. And seriously, if you want to build up some serious strength, like you need to learn to grip your body in a whole new way when you like, and I'm not talking crazy stuff, by the way. Like don't be doing combos in trackies unless you are really, really confident. But do your inverts, do leg hang pullovers, do practice your stuff in joggers and see the way you have to grip. Like you have to work twice as hard. It's a really, really good way. Like climb in socks and joggers, and it helps you level up your strength as well. So that's a good little tip.
Because
But
it takes
socks
the
all the way.
skin grip away and it really focuses on the muscle
Muscle
engagement,
engagement.
muscle
Yeah,
squeezing of it.
yeah, yeah, exactly that. You're not so you we've got nothing to be reliant on. So you've got to use your muscles in a different way. You've got to engage them. You've got to really squeeze. You've got to be really strong. But again, that's where cross training comes in. Like you need the muscles to be strong. When they're strong, everything else sort of like falls into place. But yeah, socks all the way.
And I ask it because I ask it, but like if you had said heels, I would have fallen over, honestly.
I feel like we
What
just would
would
have just should have just left the podcast. Like it just would have been just not me.
what would be one word to describe your relationship with Paul?
Oh. Um, I want to say something that's like I don't really know the word to describe it, but something that's like I don't know, like it's maybe not consistent's a boring word, but something that's been there like like not well, it is consistently, but I want a better word for consistent. Where's a thesaurus? Where, where's
Well,
a
consistently, consistency. That's a really hard word, by the way, for me to say in English. I'm sorry. But we'll take it. We'll take it. I know what you mean. Spin or static?
I love spin, but I think for my style, it has to be static because you can do all the bad boy strengthy tricks on static.
I like it. Once again, I feel like I know this. Choreo or tricks? Morning practice or evening practice?
Hmm. What's really interesting is I teach in the evening, but my one training session I get a week is a Saturday morning. So I both, but like my session is normally in the morning. So I would probably take the morning. Like if I had the energy to get up and go and like actually gonna tear it up and get it done, morning.
All right. And we know this one, but love or hate of conditioning? If you
So
said
it's got
hate, I feel like you're in the wrong industry.
yeah, it's got to be done. Like honestly, like it sucks, but if you truly want to improve, it's really It's the only way.
Yep, absolutely. Can you tell us two or three of polars that we should be aware of, that we should give a follow, people that you enjoy following?
Oh, that's a good question. I didn't even think about this on the spot. I did. I know. I know this is probably in the questions. I didn't even. I'm sorry. I didn't even think about this one.
That's all right.
Who am I enjoying right now? I would probably say I'm trying to think. Like I'm like trying to think who's coming up on my gram.
Look, it's a pretty chill podcast. You're allowed to have your phone. And then some people just pick
Who
up their
I'm
phone and be
really.
like, who am I following right now that I really enjoy?
Yeah, I'm trying to think who I'm like. Who I'm vibing with. To be honest, I love seeing the European polars. Like they are just next level. Like then I watch them and I'm like, these guys are like gymnasts. They're just, they are unbelievable.
Yep.
But I haven't really got anybody that I'm actually specifically watching. Like on like everybody, the talent out there is so so wild, like across the board. Um, that I just love what like anybody. I couldn't even give you a specific. Everyone and anyone that's coming up on my feed, like I'm here for it.
That's
I
all
love
right.
anyone that's progressing in the space.
I feel like my For You page is getting crazier and crazier as the years go by. Like, poll is just evolving so much that my For You page is now like, I watch and I'm like, how did this person not break? I have no idea, but okay. All right. Can you tell us one of your nemesis move?
Probably a Jade split. That's easy.
Really?
Yeah, I learned it. I need to get back and redo it, Now I'm more educated. I did it years, did it 3 times as like a baby polar and pulled my hamstring every time. And one time I was out for 3 months and then my hamstring's never ever been the same. It's one of the reasons why I'll never do it. Like, I don't know if I was maybe, I don't think I was taught incorrectly. Maybe my positioning was incorrect. Um, I don't know, but it it just does not work for me. And this is why I'm like so big on saying to people like if a move doesn't feel right for you, don't do it. Like I literally was speaking with a client this morning that was like, I really struggle with Cupid. My hips hurt when I do it. Like I think it could be hurting me for this reason. Like, it's really annoying me. And I'm like, well, don't do it then. Like just leave it. Like everybody has a move where it's like, nah, I'm not about that. So yeah, like that move for me, I'm just like I should go back and revisit it though. I think it's always because like as when I was a baby polar too, like, I've got to do my bad outside leg hang to
Mm-hmm.
get to my good leg split.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now, like I really should go back. I really should go back and do it. But yeah, I did it 3 4 times when I was younger, and it pulled my hamstring every time. One time it took like 3 4 months to recover. And it's just not worth it for me anymore. I'm like, nah, I just don't, I don't know if my body doesn't agree with it but yeah, that's the one for me.
And then to end this on a more positive note, what is your favorite move or your favorite family of moves?
Huh. Probably my favorite family of moves, maybe all like the handsprings. Or I suppose all of that comes into that then is like deadlifts, phoenix, pendulums that all then end up in that handspring
Kind
category.
of thought you were either going to say like Iron X or anything related. So once again, the handspring family, right?
Mm.
Just because when I feel like I really see you, and I feel like those do really well for you on your page, and maybe this is just coming from me from the exterior, but yeah, I see a lot of like your Phoenix, your deadlift trainings, your Iron X, and they're so strong and impressive to look at. So yeah,
Yeah, that's probably what, and when I have people come to me, that's what I have people will come uh to come to me to learn. That's
I think you
the
are definitely well known for those. And I think once again, I've been following you for a while. My favorite family of move is the same. I love handsprings and I train brackets a lot and I'm trying to be able to deadlift now. So then I kind of always like those videos. So then once again, because I like those videos, then they come up more, right? And it
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
validates me in my favorite moves as well.
Because there's so much you can do. Like you can transition in and out them so much. You got the deadlifts, you got aerial handspring, all of it. Like and I suppose within that falls like Aisha, like any of that whole range. But yeah, Iron X, I totally forgot about Iron X. That would be my all-time favorite move for sure.
Okay. Now
But
I feel a little creepy that I knew that
yeah,
intuitive.
no, you're totally right. Like that for me is absolutely. I think for me because it's like even doing it, I feel really comfortable doing it. But like I remember wanting to do it so badly, and it's so impressive. And I think you realize how impressive it is when you train other people and you realize how hard it is as well. And you're like, oh my God, it's so demanding. Um, but yeah, but then probably like, see, but then technically falls into the handspring family because you would handspring up. So,
I would put it in the handspring family
all
too.
there, all there.
Perfect. And then thank you so much for being on with us this week. I'm not going to keep you any longer. It was such a good conversation. For our
Thank
viewers and
you.
our listeners, I will put Becky's information in the caption so you can find her easily.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, thank you so much for being on. This was amazing.
Thank you. I had a blast.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Between the Poles. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends. Stay connected with us on social media, and we'll see you next time right here, Between the Poles.